Ujjayi, and welcome to Wisdom of the Nile show. Wisdom of the Nile show is brought to you by the Earth Centre UK. My name is Katasta Fakara and I am with Tumishe. So we will be hosting the show this evening, bringing the wisdom of the Nile, bringing the wisdom from our ancestors. But first of all, as we normally do at the top of the show, we want to give you an overview of who we are, who the Earth Centre is, and what the Earth Centre is about. The Earth Centre was set up by our high priest and prophet, Nebnaba Lamusa Morondenebeg, who is a high priest from the Dagomba people who are currently based across West Africa. His blood lineage comes from the area now that we know as Burkina Faso, but the Dagomba people stretch across West Africa from Ghana, Benin, into Togo, and also into Burkina Faso. The Dagomba people trace their history back to the Nile Valley region, hence Wisdom of the Nile. Right, so, and you know, it's not just the Dagomba people that trace their history back to the Nile Valley region. There are many other traditional, they say African, but we say Kemet, traditions from out of Kemet. The Vodun, the Yoruba, all trace their lineage, their history, their anciency back to Kemet and to the shores of the Nile. So the Dagomba people, when the Greeks, and there were Persians before them, when they invaded Kemet, the people left in waves, And the Dagomba people, you know them as the Dogons, they were who you call the landlords, and they were priests to the pharaohs. And during the invasion, they left in waves, moving through the Sudan, across the Sahara, into West Africa. Now, many people think about this, they just think, oh, okay, they just left out of Kemet in one go. It actually wasn't that. This is a migration of a people. So over years, over hundreds of years, people migrated across the Sahara into West Africa to get away from destruction of people like the Greeks and the Romans. Now, people like the Dagomba people had ancient traditions and still have ancient traditions which they practiced in secret in what is known as initiation. And so the information that we bring you is information that has been kept over time, secretly being practiced in the bush by people like the Dogon people. Was it 1998? My sister Tamisha, you have the dates there. In 1998, Nebnaba Lemusa Modern Denebeg was given permission by the temples in Burkina Faso to bring the initiation out into the West. And this was the first time that traditional African initiation was given permission by the temples to come into the West. And this was because the temples had seen the destruction that is upon humanity. And to be able to assist the human being in restoring their humanity, the temples gave the permission for the initiation to be brought into the West. And so Nebnaba set up the first school, the first Earth Center school in Chicago, the United States. And he set up several schools in the United States. And approximately 10 years, so it was about 20 years ago, Nebnaba set those schools up. And he built the school and was teaching initiation to our fellow initiates in what we call Manu, the States. Nebnaba transitioned 10 years ago, and his work was continued by his son, Naba Irita Shenmira. About 5 years ago, Naba brought the initiation to the UK. And we currently have a school here in London and one in Coventry. We had one in Birmingham also. Naba Irita also has gone on to set up a school in Canada, Montreal, and will be setting another one up in Toronto. So the Earth Center is growing. We also have schools in Burkina Faso, and requests come from all over the world for this initiation. Now, the Earth Center is structured in a way that enables the information to come up, but also enables persons like ourselves, the initiate, to be able to interact with the tradition in a way that it assists us and also enables the school to grow. So the school has several arms or sections to it, and Tunmishe is going to take it from there.
Ujai. As Hattini said, we have 4 branches. Them time school teaches traditional education, which is taught in 3 classes. And through the MTAM School of Kemetic philosophy and spirituality, the classes are Medimayit, which is a foundation level of humanity's oldest language. It's otherwise known as the hieroglyphics, which helps us in various ways. It helps the brain to understand clear concepts. This class teaches history and philosophy, and it's also the cornerstone of the organisation. The second class is also called Sunt. One of the other classes is called Sunt, which teaches traditional healing, the preservation of life, knowledge of nature and how it connects with humanity. This class also teaches the process of diagnosis. Another class, the third class is called Katibi, which teaches spirituality, meditation, strengthening the body through physical poses. This is where originally Qigong, yoga, Tai Chi originates. This is where you would learn, in this class is where you learn to connect with your ancestors through the prayers, mantras and chants. The second branch of the Earth Center is the Firefly Productions, which is the publishing house producing a number of magazines, books, CDs, articles. Some are written by the initiates, but most of the information is written by Master Naba, Naba Irita. One of the books by Master Naba, which we call a Bible, really, is the Philosophy Podium. And which is the main book written. pt13 is another book of stories. This is something that normally is being told around the fireplace, and is aimed to enlighten and uplift the honest seeker. Several books have been written by historians, but this is the only one by a Dogon high priest. There are also online DVDs, video, and a free Sunnyside magazine.
We also have our charity arm of the organization. The charity is set up to do just that, charitable works in Merita, and also with the legal structure, our legal structure here, because obviously every area that you go, every country, they have their own structure, and you have to be able to comply with, you know, the regulations there. So we have the charity arm, and then we also have PIM, Project in Merita, and again the charitable can assist in that, but PIM, Projects in Merita, really is about things that are happening down on the ground in Merita. So I myself have just got back from Togo just about 2 weeks ago, and I'm happy to say that I was able to see a lot of the work that's going on there. So we have a healing village in Togo, and where persons can come and traditional priests will give them healing. They can stay for a while and go through whether it's spiritual or physical healing, which comes under Ancastar, but they can go there to the healing village that it's continually been expanding and growing. Actually, when I was there was a whole swathe of land cleared for further development that's going to be going up there. They're having agricultural projects where they're growing food for themselves, and also spillovers from the temples always go to the community, and that was really good, going in there and see, like, you know, when we on our divine holy days and when we give you know, to the temples, that money is brought back to Merita, but actually that money isn't used for the people there in the temple. It's actually used to assist people neighboring who may need assistance. They do projects like wells, so they dig wells and enable people to be able to access water easier. They're building temples, so I went to see where one of the new temples are being built. It's a temple for the 4 goddesses that's being built in Togo, so they're in the process of that. That's probably 3/4 of the way done. So there are many projects that are going on down on the ground, and that's the responsibility of PIM, Project in Merita Committee. So as Tunmise said, you know, we have several organizations, several arms to the Earth Center, and we also have
another branch of the organization is the Ancastar Natural Healing, which provides traditional medicine based on knowledge passed down from generations to generation. This branch also includes annual pilgrimage. There's a highly trained and skilled ancestor healers who have the knowledge of healing properties of diverse roots, plants and barks that naturally grow uninterrupted in the African bush. And castor products are the result of thousands of years of experience and are used in many parts of Africa as the primary method of healing. These herbs and roots are grown and gathered by authentic certified healers, and only carries herbs and products that impact the body and preserve health while remaining in harmony with the earth. There are no artificial colors, preservatives or fillers. Products are currently available without a health consultation, including the following. We have Nenica, which is the blood cleanser of roots and herbs and barks. It's originating chemically for thousands of years ago and is considered throughout Africa as the human being's best friend. Nenica helps to remove toxin from the blood and lowers cholesterol and expels abnormal cells from the blood. It is often used in conjunction with other herbs and is recommended for routine cleaning of the system. There's various other herbs like digestive cleaner, sexual performance, liver cleanser and energizers.
And again, I had the opportunity to see the traditional healers go in, gathering herbs and bringing them in. So it really is good to see it coming from the nature and just to see the anciency of the Ancaster herbs that are brought here to the West. Very powerful. So if you want to get in contact with the Earth Center for any of those areas, or you might just want to be interested in things that we might be doing, we hold certain holy days, you might be just interested to see what's going on with us, you can contact us on 0207 175 4144. Now I just want to stipulate, because there has been a call forwarding on this phone line, we are sorting it out currently. You may hear that the person says this line is not working or this line is temporarily out of use, but actually if you hold on for a moment, it will then ring to another phone. So there's a call forward. So just so that you're aware, until we sort that issue out, don't hang up. If you hear that message, just hold on and your message will go through. The number will ring and hopefully there'll be someone at the end who can take your call. If you want to email us, we actually do have a new email, so I'll be getting that. But Facebook, if you want to get us on Facebook, it's the Earth Center, and that's Center CENTER UK. At Twitter, it's Kebtah, KEBTAH UK. That's Twitter. On Instagram, it's at the Earth Center of UK. And our website, which is currently under construction, but we do have a website and you can access it, but there's so much more on there. But, it's been changed up, so, going to put some extra information on there. The website is the Earth Center, CNTR.org. Now, if you would like to speak with us today while we're here on the radio, you can call us on Bless FM radio. It's 079 444 31366. That's 079 444 31366. We would love to interact with you, hear your questions, hear your points of view. So as we go through the show, we will be looking forward to hearing from you. Now, the number I just gave you was for London. We also have a school in Coventry, and that's at 18 Biggin Hall Street, Coventry, CV3 1GS. And the number is 0739599 5944 or 0247 that's the Coventry address. Now, we also have, the email is enquiries.uk@theearthcentre.org. And just in case you wanted our London address, is 21 Sunnyside Road, E9, I think it is. I'll check that full postcode and I'll get it to you. But it's 21 Sunnyside Road. That's in Leytonstone. So when we do have our what we call our Zemzem, our prayer at times when we communicate with the divine, you will be able to come there. But if you want to get any of the products that you heard about, or if you actually want to come in and maybe take in one of the classes that are held at the school, you can do that. You can call us and we'll make an arrangement for you to come in and you can sit in on the class and for one session. Usually we allow people to come, so it's usually a 6-hour session with breaks in between each class, each of those classes that Tunmishe told you about. So that's the Sunt, Medu and Katibi. They're 2 hours each and there's a break in between and you get a chance to see what initiation is really about. And trust me, when you see it, you won't want to turn back. So if you do want to come in, give us a call on the number that I gave you, which is 0207 175 4144. And so I've now got our full postcode. It's E10 7BB. BB as in buzzing B. Okay, so that's 21 Sunnyside Road, Leyton, E10 7BB, and that's the London school. Okay, so we are going to go to the music, but before we do, Tunmishe, are you going to give us the proverb of the week?
The proverb of the week is if we stand tall, it's because we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us.
So true. Thank you. Tumani Diabati and Balake Sissoko. You're listening to Kora music from West Africa. sounds of the beautiful kora music. Sounds from West Africa. Sounds of our ancestors. Okay, so now we're in the section of the show called the Wisdom of the Ancestors. And today I'd like to play Neb Naba himself doing a talk. Now, one of the things with religion is that African spirituality has not only been demonized, but it has also been almost erased. It almost doesn't exist. You know, I was doing some work with my son and they were looking at religions across the world. And there was Christianity, there was Muslim, there was Hindu, there was Jainism, there was Sikhism, there was Buddhism. There was no traditional African spirituality, no tradition at all mentioned. And it's funny because we know, and even the sciences prove, that humanity started in Africa. So now I want to do a talk, play a talk by Neb Naba, and this section is on Gods v Demons. God v Demons.
And the notion that the notion of sequence and the notion that the universe does not contain empty space. Because we call it, whether you know, for the students, we use the term and a badly cooked soup, where you have lumps, thin soup, big lump, small lump, thin soup. That's the universe is. It's a matter of thicknesses. There's no space that can be considered empty. Well, if there is no space that can be considered empty, there is a problem with the new philosophies. Because for something to exist, it needs to have a history. You can't just wake up and say, hey, guess what? This thing is here. No. That's why it becomes very, very, very important for the system to introduce the notion of ends and beginnings. Then it allows you to put the other things under the rug, and you can start with new things. You see, because I was explaining in New York, people were asking, what is the difference between a god and a demon? Here we understand that to be like one of them is bad and one of them is good. But the truth is, no, that's not what it is. The difference between a god and a demon, a god precedes humanity. A demon is when like a human beings on earth, we minding our business, then somebody comes with whatever authority, he say, accept this God now. That makes him a demon because this God came, a God is supposed to be there before human being came. So they didn't exist, they had no history. Then maybe somebody come with a gun or whatever, colonization, and then puts that God, asks you to worship it. That's the difference between a demon and a God. These kind of issues really become like a Pandora box when you open it by accepting the idea of the nothing. And really what you did is you accept the idea of things that can exist now while they have no history. You know, like you remember in the year 2006, because at one point the Romans said, okay, our world now starts today. And then they start counting. You see? They didn't say the world start today. They say their world start today. When you buy into that, what that also means that whatever was there before, you reject that. And you walk into this. So you see, that's what the idea of the zero in the beginning introduced. The opportunistic philosophies, opportunistic beliefs, opportunistic whatever. Because then they don't have a history. Given a new beginning, give a chance of whoever wanna do what? To say, okay, this is a beginning for it. You see? Like now, Christianity is 2006 years old. What that means, before that, there was no Jesus. What that means, before that, there was no Yahweh. What that means, before that, all the gods that has been said was didn't exist. So you see, humans were there before these gods. You understand that? Yes. Which makes it a demon. That's the difference. A God will be, which kind of God will be being born while humans are sitting and watching? You see? These are like things you want to keep in mind.
Nebnaba Lamusa Morandenibeg. I hope you were able to hear. I know it was very quiet, but I hope you were able to hear. And what he's talking about is so profound. We, in the religions that we have been exposed to, we do not perceive or even discuss things like gods and demons and what it is. We are given that there was this one called Satan and so forth. But if you heard, and if you didn't, I'm going to repeat, what he said was, a demon is a, inverted commas, God created by man. Because you cannot be a human being and witness the birth of a God. For it to have been a God, it must predate humanity. It must predate you. So there must be a history to this God before you came on the picture. If you come on the picture and create this God, that's what they call a demon. Interesting. Interesting. Nebnaba Lamusa Morandenibeg.
What's interesting is that many of our people are so caught up in the religion that they cannot see. They're so hoodwinked that if you try to teach them anything different, they will not listen. They actually call you the demon for believing that the same person and same people who persecute you can actually be the same people who want to save you with their religion. And I think it's so sad, because it's almost like we've been brainwashed. They've been brainwashed. We, myself also coming from a Christian background, went through it as well. And what Master Naba said makes perfectly sense, is that the same, if we are the demons, because we are actually the ones who are living by a God that has been created by man.
And, you know, going to Merita and just seeing how simply real it is that they understand that Earth was created by a higher intelligence. So this is why they respect the nature so much, because it was put there by the hands of a higher intelligence, and everything that the nature is because of the intelligence. So that's the first thing. They don't just say, oh, I believe in God, or we believe in God. It's more than that. Through the nature, they communicate with those who created the nature, because the nature itself is a living entity. So we give thanks for the teachings of the ancestors, and I'm just going to play one more talk by Neb Naba, and it's a continuation, and it's called Human Goal and Identity, and hopefully this one should be a little bit more clearer. Human Goal and Identity.
Human being. Let's understand a human nature. A human brain does not invent. What I mean is that a human being is within his essence. He can't sit and come up with an idea that has nothing to do with what they've been exposed to. What we mean with that, you can't sit and have a thought that is not coming from something that got into you. One way. So, which means our environment, the nature, the universe, whatever we see of our environment, play a huge role in the steps that we set towards the future. So, that is our essence. And now, God asks us, what is our agenda? What do we want? And that is when humanity was coming. And God are asking us, what is our plan? We don't have a plan. What can we think of? We can't think of anything. We didn't have enough time to be inspired or to be distracted or whatever you want to call it by the existence. The only thing we could perceive is the gods in front of us. So we did the best we could do. Which is, we tell them, we want to be like you. We want to build a divine world. We want to build a world like the world of the gods. Because that's what we can do. That's our best. And we really gave it our best. But now there is a problem. A human being sets as an agenda, wanting to be like gods, wanting to reproduce the world of the gods. But a human being is not a god. We die. We perceive them to be immortal. We get sick. They don't get sick. We grow old. They don't grow old. We are dirty. We are dirty. If you don't believe me that we are dirty, even physically, stay 1 week. Don't brush your teeth. 1 week, don't take your bath or your shower. And then ask your friend to smell you and tell you. That is how dirty a human being, a human body produces its own corruption. If a human being produces his own corruption, and yet he wants to reproduce the world of the gods, there is a problem. Because the difference between a human being and the divine, the world, the gods, the gods are holy, they're sacred. They don't carry corruption. Human beings are dirty. Let's have that honesty and admit it. We are dirty within the body. We are dirty within the mind too. Because we have these dirty thoughts. We are the favorite field of corruption. We are the favorite field for evil. Well, look, we're talking about, the black people issues worldwide. Guess what? It came from other humans too. If it was not because of these other humans, we wouldn't have ended up slaves. You see? That's how dirty and evil a human being can be. Now, carrying all this, but we're just different from gods. We cannot approach God if we don't get rid of that. We are a danger to our own selves. Well, we are also a danger to everything that comes in contact to us. You see, we have a huge problem. And we want to build a divine world. We want to be like God. Well, obviously, it's a long way to go. We don't know how many reincarnations it will take. But our goal is clear. We want to reach there. Because that's what we see as the best that could happen to us. Reach as close as possible to the gods. Now you see the situation of power. The gods want to access us, how to deal with our ancestors. Obviously, we can't access gods unless we go through the ancestral line. But there is a problem somewhere there. Who is the self? How do we come into being? When we say me, oh, you, what do we really mean? What do we really mean? Because obviously, when you take the context of the surrounded out, it becomes more difficult to pinpoint where the me is. Where the me is becomes more difficult. Well, we understand another thing on the other side, is that the existence doesn't come with holes in it. There's no empty space in the existence. Things don't happen, they become. Things transform. The universe transforms. It doesn't have a place in the universe when you go, okay, there's everything in this side and there's nothing here. So, for anything to come into being, it will have to have a history. Maybe that's why we are being born. It's because we have a history. Because I just told you, really our idea of the self don't really, I don't know what's the word we put there. Because it comes from the parents, and their idea of the self comes from their parents, and then so on and so on and so on. You see, we have a history. That's why we can be born. If we don't have a history, what would we think? The world, the universe should expand and make another empty space so that we will exist? It doesn't work. So, if it's like this, then like how our schools are teaching, every birth then can be perceived as a reincarnation. Because you can't even point which part of you is not part of the history. So really your concept of you is a thought, it's a consciousness. It has nothing to do with the reality of it, because every part of you is part of this flow, this river, of life that is passed through you. You get that? wicked because you turn your back on yourself. You turn your back on everything that made you good. So it becomes very easy to get. Just like nowadays, you know how things work. So please, do yourself a favor. Apply this to your life.
Neb Naba Lamusa Moran Denibeg giving us the teachings of the ancients. If there's any initiates out there, can you give us a call and let us know if you're hearing crackling? I hope you were able to hear Neb Naba because there's so much information that he's sharing. So if you are hearing crackling, do let us know. And the number, and if you want to share any thoughts or you want to give your opinions on what we've been sharing today, or anything to do with the traditions, or anything at all that you want to share with us here on Bless FM, on the Wisdom of the Nile show, you can call us on. Got your pens and paper ready? It's 079-444-31366. I'm Katasta Fakara with
Michelle.
And we're here, your host today on the Wisdom of the Nile show. You know, having the privilege of really being reacquainted with, and I say reacquainted because we were taken from Merita, or they call Africa, but being reacquainted with Neb Naba's son, and through his son setting up the school here, through the teachings, to be acquainted with the teachings of the Earth Center. For me, in my personal life, I have to say it really has been a blessing. And I have been on this road of spirituality for 30 years and more. What I've learned through the initiation and what I've learned from the priest and from Merita, sometimes the knowledge is so big, you can't even really talk. You just have to sit down and just absorb it, because sometimes it's just so profound. So profound, you know. And when you go and you see the places where people like Neb Naba come from, I mean, you would think, well, what can come from here? This is like huts and, you know, sand, and how did this knowledge come? It traveled through the bloodline, and we give thanks for ones like the Dogons who have kept this knowledge going. I'm Katasta Fakara, and you are listening to Wisdom of the Nile show. After our interlude, we will be going into our international section, where we will be speaking to the I want to get her title right. I was going to say the International Director for Firefly, but it is Firefly Productions Branch Director, who will be sharing with us some information on the Firefly. And as Tunmisha told it earlier, Firefly is the part of the organization that sends out information about the organization. We have the podium, as she said. We've got the calendar, we have Firefly Productions, Sunnyside. It's the mouthpiece of the organization, and it's where you can get information and read on the tradition. So we will be speaking to the director right after this. the soothing sounds of the kora instrument from West Africa. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, welcome to our international section of the show. And on the line, hopefully, we should have and I'm going to make sure that I get it right. It's our Firefly Productions branch director. Let me see if we have her on the line. Ujai Metmeka?
Ujai, I'm here.
Okay, let's see if we can get you. Ujai? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, we're not hearing you coming through the actual board.
Now?
I can hear you, but we want to get you through the board. So let me just try and see if we can get you coming through loud and clear. Can you speak?
Yeah. Here I am.
I don't think we're getting you. I don't think we're getting you as we should. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a little bit more of the music, and I just want to make sure that we get you loud and clear so we can hear everything you're saying. Okay, so I'll just going to bring her back on the other side, and if we can listen to more of this beautiful kora music. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening. I can't hear her.
Somebody's phoning.
This one, I put this. Ujai Metmeka, can you hear me?
Yeah, here I am.
Right, we're still not hearing you through. We just got the technician here assisting us as we try to get you coming through the line. So, do you want to continue? Metmeka?
Talking? Yeah, okay, I'm talking now. Here I am.
We're still not hearing her. Technician. Mr. Technician Man. So we're gonna put on back some more music until we can, because we want to hear you properly. So I'm gonna put the music back on, and just hopefully shortly we'll have you back on. All right. I'm not sure what's happening. We're not hearing you. Let me get his phone. Yeah, but that's why I'm having these things happen. That's why you hear me saying. That's why you hear me saying.
Yeah. Hello.
Ujai?
Ujai, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. The volume's a little low, but we can hear you now. Um, let's just make sure that. Okay, okay. So Mecca.
Yes.
That sounds a lot better, and we're going to get it even clearer because we want to make sure that we're hearing exactly what you're saying. So, duao for coming in the international section of the Wisdom of the Nile show. As I shared with the listeners, you are the Firefly branch director. Is that right? Firefly Productions branch director. Yeah, I'm good,
Correct,
engineer.
that's
Thank
right.
you. Right, and so what does that mean? What does we were sharing a little bit about what Firefly does, and then maybe if you can just give us a greater overview of what happens within the Firefly Productions and anything that you think that our listeners could really benefit from. So again, thank you for coming on the
Okay.
show. Duao.
Okay, yeah, Nini, you're welcome. No problem. Well, first, I want to acknowledge everyone listening and all of the people listening's ancestors and all of my ancestors. And also, I'd like to acknowledge the Makaru, Master Naba Lemusa Denebig, who is the reason why the Earth Center is in existence and kind of responsible for bringing so many people from a state of ignorance to a state of I won't call it enlightenment, but just really helping us out. So I have to acknowledge Makaru first before I say anything. And thank you to Katasta for opening this channel. This is really great for us to be able to talk. So
Nini.
So the Firefly branch, we always say, for those who don't know, the Earth Center is made up of 3 branches. And there's a Ankasta Natural Healing branch, which focuses on, just like it sounds, healing. Ankasta is a word for Medu, so it comes from Ankasta, which Katasta, it's got the Aisha in the name. Mm-hmm. The spirit and the life of Aishat. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of, a name that Makaru gave to that branch to invoke the healing powers of that Neter. So that's what that branch focuses on. Because the Earth Center is really vast. Mm-hmm. It encompasses not just something niche. It's not niche, it's vast. Mm-hmm. So it covers all aspects of life or a lifestyle, really. So one branch is just for health and well-being. And then another branch is Mtam, which is a Gormachi word. And it's for basically the Gormachi word for geomancy. And it is in charge of educating and initiating, actually, anyone who is open to becoming a disciple of these ancient traditions. That's a very deep level for a person to commit to. So I would say that the Mtam branch covers the deepest parts of what the Earth Center has to offer. But some people, they just need healing. Some people want to delve very deep and they want to be initiated. And then there's the Firefly branch, or Firefly Productions, which is the Earth Center's in-house production company that focuses on bringing materials out to the public that kind of give, if I could say, a taster to what the Earth Center has to offer in terms of things from all of the aspects that we cover. So there's some tasters from the healing side. You might find articles in the magazines, or you might find videos, DVDs, CDs, little pieces of information that anyone can kind of taste. It doesn't go as deep as the imtam initiation, of course. And it doesn't have that aspect of quite touching the person's life in a sense that Ankasta really focuses on a very interactive relationship with a client or a like a patient almost type relationship. But if you're interested and you want to learn more, that's what Firefly Productions will kind of satisfy that need. We have a magazine that has been produced since the founder's time. I think, don't quote me, it's in the 90s when Makaru started the Firefly magazine, but before that, its predecessor was called the Bayou Ali magazine, and that was in Burkina Faso. Mm-hmm. And the magazine always had a reading on, like kind of like a horoscope, to give a person an idea of the energies for that month or the 3-month period, as well as several articles that touched upon different aspects of what the Earth Center is all about, whether it's cultural, healing, what have you. And probably our most important product that we have is the calendar, which helps a person really be a spiritual person. The calendar, which we produce every year, is the most important tool that a spiritual person can have in their hands. Because without knowing where your space and time, it's like the most uncivilized thing that can be, is not knowing where you are or when you are in space and time. Space and time, what around you, what deities or Neteru are governing the space during which time periods, you don't know how to worship or respect the nature around you, then you can't fit in the cosmos. You can't fit with the earth. You can't fit with the time. The calendar, which comes out, I said, every year with different tidbits of information, but the most important thing is knowing when to worship your ancestors and when to worship the world of the gods. So we really have been focusing on those two products over the years, but as we grow, we are branching out into new mediums, I suppose. But for right now, that's probably the biggest things that we focus on as a branch, the magazine and the calendar.
Yeah, and actually I've got the calendar in front of me, and for those who don't know about the calendar, for example, today it's, so of course we are in the Gregorian time, we are saying we're on April the 10th, but if we use our calendar, we are on, it's the 2nd of the month of Pen Renut. And the divinity who is over this month is Imen. It is the same deity that is used at the end of your prayers when you say Amen. So yes, Mecca, I definitely, I would concur that the calendar is definitely one of the most important tools. I mean, it's true, you kind of spin around like, what day is it today? You know, and like, for example, we're going to have our ancestral holiday on Saturday, and next Wednesday is our divine holiday in the Gregorian time, but again within our time, it's, you know, and it's the oldest, it is the oldest. It relates back to the Dendera, isn't it, the which is the oldest astrological symbol of time, if I'm correct. Mecca, could you expound a bit on that for me, please?
Sure. Well, the map of Dendera, which is what many calendars are, it's the map of the sky. And if you've ever seen the map of Dendera, and you can Google it, and you'll see several iterations of it, It has a wheel-like shape with, you could call them characters, depicted within the wheel, and depending on what time of the year it is showing you which neter, which deity is governing that time period. If you picture the Earth as a rock in space, and it's spinning on its axis, and it's also at the same time traveling in the cosmos, you can very quickly see how this could be true, because we're never occupying the same space. Even from this moment right now I'm speaking, an hour will go by and we'll be in a different space and time. So as time flows, we are moving into a different, what's the word, jurisdiction of a different deity. So this map of the sky depicts that kind of poetically, artistically, I should say. And you can see it in many cultures have this, but maybe they have different names for these gods. And I think probably what people can relate most to is the Gregorian horoscope, which, if I can point out, horoscope, the etymology is coming from Heru. You know, it's Heru's scope. And a lot of other ancient calendars also have this wheel-like. I think the Aztec calendar is also depicted in a wheel. And it's all to kind of keep track of where we are in time and space.
Wow.
And the oldest one, the oldest one would be, I'm not going to say that I can definitely say without a doubt that the map of Dendera is the only one that works, because as you know, different locations demand different preferences. Every area will have a different deity that governs the space, and they have different preferences than 20 miles away or 5,000 miles away. So perhaps these several different denderas or maps of the sky, they just are different depictions depending on what was around. So I can only speculate as to that, but they're all similar.
You're going to see it from your perspective, right? You can only see it from wherever you're standing from your perspective. So, yeah, that makes sense. Mecca, I want to thank you for sharing, sharing that information. I'm actually here with Tunmise, and I don't know if Tunmise, you have any questions on what Mecca was sharing. I saw you nodding your head just now when she was talking about the fact that it's the horoscope, whether it's a Libra, Gemini. That's what most people, that's what it's kind of been watered down to. And I saw you nodding. So maybe you didn't have anything to say. You were just nodding.
No, it's just amazing, really, because prior to joining the organization, I was very much into horoscopes and houses. And I think I was more aware that there was planetary alignments within each of our, the time we were born and those kind of things. But actually learning through from M-Time that the Dendera is actually the map of the sky and the original horoscope. It's very exciting for me, and I'm very intrigued to learn. Also, I'm a beginner, and it's a very knowledgeable, and it's important for me to understand the importance of how how important we are, where we are in time and space, and the importance of learning, the importance of praying and connecting with the ancestors and the different deities at that particular time and space is important.
Yeah. Mecca, is there anything
Yeah.
I don't. I think. Tamisha, I think you were just talking, and the mic may not be up, so I'm not sure if everybody heard what you just said. So, can you just summarize, please? No, just in a few seconds, 30 seconds, because maybe people didn't hear. So, could you just summarize quickly?
No, more
what
or
you just
less
said?
what I was saying is that I could see the importance. Prior to joining MTAM, I was into the horoscopes and studying the stars and so forth, and now being in MTAM and realizing that there was actually a map of the Dendara, which is the oldest horoscope, and the map of the sky, which is the important of helping me to understand that everything has a space and time, and the importance of understanding how to worship your ancestors at specific times. And the calendars is the calendar for me now. Every day I'm checking it. I want to make sure I'm not missing my ancestral day. I'm not missing my divine holy day, and the energy that comes around that time. I think there's a question I wanted to ask in relation to. I've always observed, I don't know if there's anyone else has observed it, but around the divine holy days and the ancestral day, I always feel like a heavy energy. Sometimes extremely tired leading up to it, and I don't know if that's me having to obviously fight with my inner self. It's part of a fight with my inner self, really, to ensure that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing on Pacific days.
Yeah, I guess everybody has their own energies.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Mecca.
Yes.
Okay, you're hearing. Is there anything else that you can share with us that that will benefit us as initiates, and also our listeners who haven't come into the initiation but are listening and learning and wanting to know more?
Sure. On the initiate level, because it's the initiates who produce these articles. It turns out that I'm hearing a little feedback. Sorry.
Yeah, I've just pulled down the mic. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You ever hear that quote? Knowledge is a fire to be burned. If you don't feed it, it kind of goes out. And the way you feed it, it turns out, is actually by teaching or giving it, lending it out and really interacting with it. It's not a one-way street. This is even scientifically proven that, I'm going to mess up the statistics, but it's something like you retain 40% of what you hear, but 80% of what you teach. Okay? So that means that if you're just listening to it, you're not going to get as much out of it. But if you're teaching it to someone, you will almost have it really much more strong than if you just listen to it. And the reason I bring that up is, in the MTAM branch, for example, you must teach. It is a requirement to graduate from the Pronk level. In the Ankasta branch, you must heal. It's a requirement in order to become a healer. And in the Firefly branch, you must write. It turns out, Makardu said, it's writers that change the world. Because who do you have access to on a daily basis? Not everyone, not even hardly anybody. 7 or 8 billion people on the planet. You don't have access to anyone in comparison. But if they're writing, you have access to anybody. And we as writers, or we as teachers, or we as healers, need to do that and practice that. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. I'm not saying that everyone who enters the initiation, we just are just natural born writers. It's a process. And we help everyone get to the point where they can at least become a published columnist, writer. So we have a writers group, we have editors, and we have a very, I would say, friendly. You've been on the writers group before, Katasa.
Yeah.
And it's very, I don't want to say intense, but it's interactive, where we help new writers and encourage new writers to become published in the Firefly magazines. And just like the sister there was saying, how she was so interested in the horoscopes before she even came. Because in the Mtam initiation, we sort of skim the surface on so many things because we have so much to cover. But we really encourage people who have an interest to delve deeper and research, because Makaru, if nothing else, was a profound researcher. And if you have that waj, we call it, that drive within you to research something, we don't want to stifle you. We want to help you flourish that. And that is something that perhaps only you could do. So we help anyone who has that. In my words are losing myself. What is it? It's not just motivation. It's like something more that you just need to do. We want to help you. And then you research, you write it. And that's what the articles you will find in the Firefly are a result of, is people who just, through their initiation, found that they wanted to learn more about something. And then they end up teaching others who are able to pick it up. So, yeah.
Well, on that note, Hatani, I want to thank you for taking the time out and sharing with us here on the Wisdom of the Nile show the knowledge that you bring, and may the ancestors and the divinities continue to guide and protect you at all times.
Duao, sis. Okay.
Duao, Hatani.
Duao, everyone.
Irihiru.
Irihiru.
Okay. That was Mecca sharing with us information from the Firefly Productions side, and of course her knowledge as initiate. Right on the other side, we are going to go into the initiate space where we'll be speaking with someone who's going to tell us about their journey. So we're going to play a little Sona Jobarate. She is Jobarate, they actually call her. Wonderful kora player who has her own band and just does wonderful kora music out of West Africa. Her father was a kora player and she has taken out the art. Sona Jobarate. Zero 794443136 if you want to get
Jesse Mosima Gwansan. One life, baby, do fe. Nko sini miri la jandela. Ali fo site momin fe. Jarabi dina udu su sumaya. Netumalo dia yedumata. He can't talk any kini lela. Desanu konde wari kunko. Kalonte kunne kere dorone jarabi. Jarabi banale di dunya. Nete se kato ye jarabi. Jarabi banale di dunya. Frate banamina jarabi. Jarabi banale di dunya. Nete se kato ye jarabi. Jarabi banale di dunya. Furate banamina bada. Ikele yele dinema. Sisane koni sewara. Foko ye godi ye miye. Afanka kaboni fenbeye. Ni anene toro zinya gelen. Habila dia ya tejema. Jarabi banale di dunya. Nete se kato ye jarabi. Jarabi banale di dunya. Furate banamina jarabi. Jarabi dolole di dunya. Nete se kato ye jarabi. Jarabi banale di dunya. Furate banamina bada. So, this song is about love, I mentioned. Jarabi. I would like very much if you could join us on this song. We yo Jarabi. We yo Jarabi. We yo Jarabi. We yo Jarabi. For those that can do two things at the same time, to clap and sing. Yeah, or half.
Sona Jobarate. Yes, our beautiful sister from West Africa, giving us the traditional sounds. Now, on the line, we should have our brother, Wawa Ngenge. Let's see if we can bring him up. Ujai, Wawa.
Ujai, how are you?
Oh, Jai, that's coming through loud and clear. Is it to Michelle?
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
yeah,
I'm just
very
making sure we can hear you because we had a little bit of a technical issue earlier with our caller. I'm well, thank you. And I want to thank you for joining us on the Wisdom of the Nile show on the Initiate Space. And this is the space in the show where initiates from all over the world have the opportunity to share their experience with the rest of the world, basically, whoever's tuning in. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. I understand you are currently in Houston, Texas. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Okay, so my name's Katasta Fakara, and we have
Tumishe.
So, Tumishe, would you like to ask Wawa questions? Well, really, you want to just ask him?
Okay, greeting now, Ujai.
Ujai.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on the radio, and it'd been interesting for the listeners to know a little bit about your experience and how you came about joining MTAM school. What was your experience prior to joining the organization?
Oh, thank you very much. My name is Wawa Ngenge. I'm from the Mbum ethnic group in Cameroon, in West Africa. And my journey to the Earth Center started as a youth, because I always ask questions about why there was nothing in my education that taught me about myself. That I would go to school or go to church and I would see nothing that looked like me, and I wasn't taught to be proud of myself, my people. We were always taught that we had nothing. And in school, we're even taught in our national anthem to sing, by the French colonizer, to sing that we used to be barbarians until we were saved by the French.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yes, yeah, I'm serious. So everywhere I went, and I journeyed a lot. In the Catholic Church, I would ask questions and got no answers. I moved on. I studied Zen Buddhism, and then I would say, okay, but where am I in this? And nobody could ever connect it. They would just say, okay, this is what is good for you. I studied yoga, I studied, Confucianism, I studied Taoism. And everywhere along the way, it would always look like there was nothing that pointed back to my own ancestors to say, we have been part of this universe and have held a pride of place and have done things that other people can be proud of. And that's what the journey that led me eventually to the Earth Center. And once I found the Earth Center, things just fell into place. It was good to know that my history didn't start with the Berlin Conference in 1884. Or in the United States, it didn't start with, the slave ships. Okay. They built a museum here to Black history, and it starts, at the bottom with slave ships. How can a civilization start from slavery? So the people who have colonized or conquered us, or who spend their time telling us that we're poor and have nothing to contribute to the world, are the ones who are occupying our land, taking away our languages and forcing us to speak languages that do not honor our ancestors. And all these questions have always been in my head. And I studied Black history at the bachelor's degree, and I went on to a master's degree, went back home and worked. And no matter what I did, I always ran up against that obstacle. There was nothing in what I was doing that focused on me. And finally, I have settled. I have found myself at the Earth Center. And I'm glad to be here. I'm sure I can stop there, and then we can answer other questions and more information will come.
You know, it really is interesting to hear your story, because many times we are under the illusion or assumption that it is simply those who are in the diaspora that are affected in terms of not being able to access the culture in the way that we should. But actually, it's interesting. I don't know if the word is interesting, but I'll use that for now. That you actually said on the land, on the continent of Africa, the colonizer was able to impose his his power in such a way that your national anthem is decrying your own self, and the people are singing it. I mean, you know, it shows how much at home and abroad we're all in need of our culture. So could you tell us a little bit about your journey since you've gone into the initiation? Now you've found that, what is it that has really, that you have seen? Or because, you know, along the journey sometimes there are some things that really hit you, that really make an impact on you, and really makes you say yes. I mean, there are so many of those, but what is it that has really made you know that yes, this is where you should be now?
I think the biggest gap when I look at my life in the village and in Cameroon as a government or diplomatic official is that there was no schooling system that taught us about ourselves. When we grew up, we lived in the culture, we could see the culture, but there was nobody, no institution set up to say, this is why things are set up like this. There's no story about how the world came into being, defined as the cosmogony that came from us. There was no story about how the world is set up and functions, how the universe existence functions. So in the absence of a school to teach us how we came into existence, we have nothing to contribute to the universe. Others can come up and say our history started whenever they want. So for me, the key thing that has anchored my experience since I got in touch with the Earth Center in 2012 is the learning about our cosmogony and our cosmology, the origins of the existence and the way the universe functions, and my place in it, my role in it, and the role of every human being, not just some human beings, but every human being. And such an inclusive, such an exhaustive approach and logical approach to the universe is what is the most important for me in my experience and my journey as an initiate.
Wow. You know, what do you really say to something like that when you're living something and, you know, like you say, other institutions have been set up to take you on that daily journey to let you know this is how creation came and this is how it goes and so forth, but actually you're living it and not even aware, not being taught it. That you know, that's, well, I don't even know what to say. And like you say, other institutions, because you mentioned Catholic, but other institutions being put in place. The journey of an initiate is not an easy one, as you know, as we, you know, many of us come on the journey, and well, all of us come on the journey and have our own reason for being here on the planet Earth, for being who we are and whatever it is that we have to do. Can you share a bit more with us about maybe your I understand about the school and that wasn't taught to you, but maybe just a bit more of your journey as an initiate, as the person, as the man, Wawa Ngenge. So for you personally, if you could share a bit more about that journey for you.
Yeah, everything always goes back to home. I'm the youngest of 12 births, 12 children. My mother had 10 births and 12 children, and 8 grew to adulthood. I'm the youngest. So I'm fortunate that by being the youngest, I'm like somebody who is in the valley, and everything flows from the hilltop towards the valley. So I'm used to receiving. And in the end, I was given responsibility for the spiritual welfare of my family, because receiving a lot, I also gave a lot. And I think the experience of an initiate here is not as hard for me as it might have been, just because I'm looking for something that I can now hand back to my family, so that whoever takes over from me will have a specific responsibility to perform certain tasks that will strengthen the ancestors. It is difficult for me to write Medu, for example, because I was born with an incomplete nervous system. But everybody has their own different struggles when going through school. I have difficulty writing or even typing. I have to work very hard to develop the neural connections in the brain that will allow me to perform very simple tasks. I remember my daughter was laughing at me in 2010 when I wanted to buy a smartphone, because she said with my shaky hands, I wouldn't be able to type on the tiny keyboard. And I was able to train one finger, my index finger, to type on that tiny keyboard, and I can't type with any other finger. So mine is physical, other people have different problems. But the fun part about going through school, and because I live in the valley, I see mostly good things, I think is developing a community that builds respect for the person that I am. And that's it.
It's interesting because you say that, you know, the challenges that you've had as a child, but then you also, prior to that, I think you said you have a degree and a master's, and that you
PhD.
Yes. So, but which means that whatever challenges you had, you overcame them to get that. So it speaks to the strength of the person, you know. Yeah, you know, as an initiate.
May I make a correction? It's not strength as much as curiosity.
Oh, okay. Please. Yes.
Yeah. Every time I ask a question and somebody doesn't answer, they'll say, okay, you can get it when you get to this stage. And I will go there. And then I'll get there, they'll say, you can get it when you get to this stage.
That's an interesting way.
Yeah. Now in initiation, I will ask a lot of questions, and my teachers will say, you must have been asking too many questions, like why, you know, when you were young. Okay. So it's my search for answers that pushes me forward. And it's the same for everybody, because everybody who comes to initiation is searching for something.
Something, right.
I just happen to know, you know, why I'm moving forward is curiosity. It's not really, the curiosity is because I needed something that I was not receiving. I think now in the initiation, I feel like I'm finally receiving what I was looking for. But even there is still more to learn. So just finishing initiation will not be enough. Learning comes through working with the community, working, you know, going back home now to the pilgrimages. Yeah. So there is always more room to grow, and growth and becoming never end. So as a curious person who's always searching, even though I feel like I'm in the right place now, the right place is not a static place.
No, it's not. It's very dynamic. The Earth Center is very dynamic. It's always moving. Such is life. So yes, one thing is you know, things are always changing, that we always know, you know. Wawa, I really want to thank you because I realize we've only got like almost just 10 minutes of this show left to go. I really want to thank you for sharing that because, you know, like I said, many people don't really realize the impact, how impactful it is, because they think that people on the continent, they actually don't think that you're looking just like we are for our traditions. So, you know, as I say, a number's been played on us, you know, but everything is for a purpose. And as you are saying, as I said, I'm really, really thankful. I can't even say how thankful I am for the Earth Center and for what we're learning. As Mecca said earlier, it's so huge. It's so diverse because per Ankh is only one stage. I mean, in Shifi, it's another stage. It blows your mind, you know. So I'm so thankful, and I really want to thank you this evening for taking the time out and sharing some of your story with us, and hopefully we can have you on another time, maybe sharing some more of your journey, maybe when you're further down the line, or maybe when you get your name. Tunmisha, you were just asking me something about his name. Did you want to ask his name?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to understand or ask a bit of what the meaning of your name is.
Okay, well, Wawa is at the first level meaning it's a hawk.
Hawk.
A hawk, Hawk.
Okay.
At the second level meaning is any predatory bird, so from hawk to falcon to eagle. To really understand it, we also need to look at what Ngenge means. Ngenge means a nation in trouble. So the predatory bird represents the king. So when you combine Wawa and Ngenge, you are talking about a king who has come to save his people.
Oh, wow.
Hence the reason you've been searching for so long. Yeah.
Wow. Now you see, right? Because the Savior doesn't have all the answers, I must find them.
Yeah. That's right. We're all on the journey.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
For that.
Yeah, that was wonderful piece of information. So, Wawa Ngenge, the king who has come to save his people. We want to thank you for sharing your journey with us. And as I was saying, when you get to get your Earth name, it would be interesting if you could come back and share the rest of your journey during initiation and that, you know, that name that you're also going to be given. So I do look forward to speaking with you again.
Well, thank you very much. It was an honor and a pleasure to be able to be on your show and to honor Master Naba and my father, who have been great teachers in my life.
Dwell for being on Wisdom of the Nile show.
Okay, Dwell.
Dwau and Iriheru.
Iriheru. We are almost at 9 o'clock. Our sister Tunmisha will 10 o'clock. Thank you, my sister. I think it's that change in the clock like a week or two ago. It's just like, yes, we're almost at 10 o'clock, and our sister Tunmisha is going to take us out with a reading shortly. So we're just hearing a little bit about more of Sona Jabarte. I want to thank our caller, Wawa Ngenge, for sharing his story with us. You are in tune to Wisdom of the Nile show. Welcome back to Wisdom of the Nile show. We are in our last segment. I'd just like to share some information with you on an event that the Earth Center will be holding in Peckham. and that is the Ancestors and Humanity Lecture, Humanity Destiny Lecture. That's on Saturday, the 27th of April, 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. Entry is just £7, and it is at 27. It's at the Hub and Culture, 27 Peckham High Street, London, SE15 5EB. If you want to get tickets online, you can get them at justtickets.com, events, ancestors, and human destiny. Or you can email us if you want to email us directly at inquiries-uk@theearthcentre.org. And I am going to hand you over to Tunmise, who's going to take us out.
This story is actually called it's from the Philosophy Podium. It's called The Conquest of the Soul by Master Naba, and it's from volume 45. For a long time, we have looked at our so-called spiritual leaders, advise us on the importance of conventions when it comes to our dreams and aspirations. They do their job with a feeling of helping us stay occupied and preoccupied by the goals that we have set, encouraging us towards everything except to that which will lead us to question the world and the society in which we live. They told us to work if you want our bread, and this is without any concern for what we must work for and for whom we should spend our sweat and our strength. They have educated us to believe only in what we can see, touch, feel, etc. They expect us to acknowledge only material aspects of the world and to keep the hope that we will know how to answer the questions that do not necessarily have their domain within realms in which the law of materialism do not apply. Maybe it's better that we focus on the individual, his suffering in this world, that does not stop aggressing him with the idea that he must be happy. We will look at the individual forced to choose between a multiple of ideas, dreams and objectives that he simply does not know. It is very important for one to ask himself adequate questions, and the answers we will find to those questions can reveal in us the dimension of the world in which we live. The priest Ptahhotep of the Temple of Memphis has arranged the words very well in his proverbs he introduced to the world. When foolishness is rewarded, wisdom becomes useless. This is a source of our problem. The best way to corrupt an individual is to reward his stupidity. This is the state of the individual fragility. He will find even in the foolishness the goal of his life, if the society rewards him for it. The goal of life is no longer the survival and transcendence of the soul, but the abstention of bread and pleasure of the moment, just like an animal walking from pleasure to pasture. It is very important for the individual to ask himself the question, why? Why do we do what we do? If the honest answers that we find to these questions bring us back to the idea of bread and pleasure that we gain, let's have the courage to recognize that we have sold our souls. This society has produced a lot of people like us. All of them, the individual soul is not just that difficult to conquer. Even societies that have refused to advance in time and space very conveniently maintain the idea of social sacrifice. The fool can go as far as seeing in his life his own way of contributing to social sacrifice. We must recognize that our situation as individuals is not easy. It is the same society that has convinced us of the importance and the need to educate ourselves about what we want to make ourselves, which is telling us that when it comes to our spirit and our soul, the religion has chosen for us will be the path for our salvation. And in this domain, our belief and the practice of the cult it has organized will be our way of surviving. The question of why remains. The question will help us guide our steps in life. This question will confront us in any moment and will force us to see the dimensions of the world in which we live. The state of this planet is in the image of its inhabitants. The planet will survive only if it is inhabited by beings interested in the argument of survival. The human being that aims at his bread does not question his acts. He is not different from those maggots that affect a purified carcass. Petrified. Just like those maggots, they do not ask questions about the future. As we say in my village, tell me your goal and I will tell you you are a fool. It is very ironic to see that we will find the same arguments and faults in which we classify other species as animals seem to be interested only in what they can eat, that they easily fall in the traps we set for them. It is because animals is interested in food and sex that he finds himself locked in a cycle that makes him available to any being capable of exploiting him. We don't need to furnish a lot of effort to observe that if animals we are exploiting develop other priorities other than eating, we will be calling them primitive and lacking intelligence. Maybe our evolution simply went to the direction opposite to what we have wished to take. And in our societies, there are individuals or groups of people always ready to give a direction to our individual effort. We can only ask them that question, why? Why, before even our birth, people have decided for us. The forbidden territories. Why is it that our decision of being the best singer, the best player, the best comedian, the best electrician, the best mechanic, the best engineer, etc., is encouraged to the disadvantage of us working on our own selves with a goal of offering to our soul the possibility of surviving all the aspects of the becoming of what exists? We know very well that society nowadays is nothing but an artificial world that we have created with the goal of supporting our improvements in nature and in the world. We can now see that when society becomes the goal of our effort, instead of the domain of our development, it is the individual that loses. Modern society is simply the greatest distraction to the individual. It will sing our glory and reward us as long as we neglect the extinctional question that the universe poses. Your idea and your qualities will only be made of nothing other than the qualities your society attributes to them. This society will accompany you towards your entire journey on earth, trying to convince you that you are good, intelligent, heroic, etc., until the age of the grave. It will even go as far as providing a golden coffin. It will even build mountains, monuments for you, but you will enter this grave alone, and on that side your value will only be made of your own self as a portion of that universe. This is not a matter of belief. It is true that when foolishness is rewarded, the individual will find knowledge and wisdom useless. When it is so, we will use our intelligence to explain what the surrounding world has asked us to believe, a way to convince our own self that there is no need to change. This is how we sacrifice the soul and the spirit. We will always do it with a surprising pride and with a feeling that the more we persist in our belief and faith, the more we will succeed in proving to the God that we have chosen that we are acceptable. In this way, we use our so-called intelligence to force the hand of the divine will into corruption produced by a corrupt soul.
Wow, Tunishe, and that piece, the title of that
was The Conquest of the Soul.
The Conquest of the Soul. You have been listening to the Wisdom of the Nile show, brought to you from the Earth Centre UK here in London. I'm Katasta Fakara.
I'm Tumishe.
And if you want to contact the Earth Centre at all, you can do so on 0207 175-4144. At Facebook is the Earth Center, the Earth Center UK. And Instagram is at the Earth Center of UK, and center is TER. Website is the earthcenter.org. The website is being worked on at the moment, but there is some basic information on there. And I'd also like to say again an event that is being held on the 27th of April. So put that in your diary, 27th of April, 6 till 8 p.m. If you want to know a bit more, here's some initiates from the Earth Center speaking. We will have a lecture called the Ancestors and Human Destiny Lecture, Saturday the 27th, 6 till 8 p.m. Entry is £7, and that's going to be at the Hub and Culture, 27 Peckham High Street, London, SE15 5EB. If you want to email, it's enquiries.uk@theearthcenter.org. Thank you for listening to the Wisdom of the Nile show. Tunmise, do you want to leave the listeners with the proverb of the week?
If we stand tall, it's because we're standing on the backs and the shoulders of those who came before us.
Duau and Iriheru.
Iriheru.
Iko nyinye kabila kindoje muso kendo lebelo ringa kuma tunyale nakabilo barakata kende kele tumengi te nyusu ya bangu